All right, what's good, everyone? I haven't posted a YouTube video in a minute. I was actually on a pretty long vacation in Hawaii, kind of just unplugging from all of my socials, but very glad to be back. It was a super great mental reset. We took a good amount of payouts on the trip, which was amazing. But yeah, this is going to be a different video. I don't really post these on YouTube. I plan on posting a lot more of these. This is going to be me live executing. So right now, I don't trade Mondays, okay? But we are trading a 2 p.m. PO3 Monday on evals, okay? Right now, we have 1 minute until this new 4 hour candle opens on NQ. I kind of want to walk you guys through like what my thought process is every single day. So bias is, relatively simple, but we are overextended. So I could go either way. But again, we rebalanced from all of this FOMC nonsense. And we gapped up and we just started expanding. So two things for me. We have a lot of earnings this week and federal funds rate. So I think potentially this new week opening gap, we could trade down into it and then rip from earnings. So potential draw, but overall trend is bullish. Now what I have marked out down here is a pretty small 4 hour imbalance. There's nothing on the 1 hour, not much on the 15 minute either. So honestly, I'm kind of expecting a bearish move off of this just because how overextended we are. But I do want to see us kind of obliterate through this 15-minute gap. Now, if we do sweep this high, then we can potentially short into this 15-minute fair value gap as well, okay? Now, usually we did rebalance this 5, so that's interesting. But yeah, I think definitely we could potentially get a buy setup off of boom, sweep this low, and see a reaction back to the upside. As you can see, ES looks pretty similar here. We're really just kind of expanding. So yeah, we'll see. I could potentially want to short into this 15-minute gap, get a quick break even. Discretionary tells me I don't really want to long too much because we're up 416 points and it's just parabolic expansion. It's a Monday. But again, I'm only trading this on evals. This is literally just to display kind of my thought process to you guys here. Can I move this in front of this? Perfect. Now, if you do want to trade some evals and expedite them, Apex is the best way to do it. I go really aggressive with all my Apex evals. Can do it on news, but I also just like to wait for good setups or okay setups. If I already have a lot of funding, I'll kind of just take it on any relatively okay looking setup that I see, go full risk and pass them. So if you do want 80% off and 1 day to pass with a super discounted activation fee for lifetime, you can go ahead and use code LOCKED at Apex as well. But right now we're seeing the 4 hour is trying to potentially put in a high right now or a low right now. I would not want to long off of this, okay? When we're talking about a 4 hour PO3, 90% of the time, we're gonna want this low to have some sort of narrative or significance, right? Right now, there's no significance. There wasn't any significance there. Now we're starting to add a little bit of significance, which is, okay, we just tapped a 1 minute gap, right? We tapped a PD array. So that's adding something, but again, it's not really a high probability confluence for me. A high probability narrative for me is tapping like a 15-minute gap and seeing a reaction, or sweeping a high of our accumulation range and seeing a reaction. So again, right here, this is our accumulation within the 4 hour PO3. And we're just waiting to break out of this range. Again, I'd be okay with kind of playing either side of the market. I'm not a huge fan of shorts if we tap this 15-minute first though. So we tap that 15-minute. Again, this is like a potential bottom tick play right here. We're gonna see a reaction back to the upside. So if we form a gap and we see an inversion, that's where I'm gonna grab my long setup, or if we just see a simple change in the state of delivery here. That's a 1 candle CISD, so I'm not a huge fan of that. So we may wait for a full range CISD here. Now, if we want to get really freaky with it, we could wait for a 30-second, but we're going to give this a little bit of time to breathe. Again, bottom tick there for me, because we're so overextended and we're literally trying to long the very top of an all-time high market, I'm usually not going to try and bottom tick in that scenario. But again, that is a potential place to do it, right? So all we're going to do is wait for an entry confirmation, okay? This is our accumulation. This is our manipulation into a 15-minute gap to put in the low of that 4-hour candle. And now we're waiting for the distribution to begin. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to keep our stop likely at the low of the 4-hour candle. Now, here is where I want to be careful, right? We have an SMT with ES, right? ES did not go and sweep those two highs. NQ did go and sweep those two highs. So if I at all need some extra confirmation on a trade, I'm going to wait for a new bullish gap post manipulation phase to form, get tapped into, and respected. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Now, as for targets within this range, I'm going to take my Fibonacci tool from the top of the accumulation range to the bottom of this manipulation range. And we're probably going to target this second extension here. This first extension, we don't really have a good risk to reward on, so we're not going to pay attention to that. All right, so let's wait, because again, for all we know, this could be the manipulation, right? Because it was a very significant, quick, sweepy move, right? That being said, we did just get a change in state of delivery on the 1-minute time frame. So as of now, it's looking more bullish, of course. Everything in our PO3 setup is telling us a little bit bullish, but I just want to be careful because we are at this all-time high. And we're just a tad overextended, right? Yeah, and again, this is why you don't have to rush into a setup, right? If we wanted to bottom tick, we could, but again, we're that much overextended where I'm just not too comfortable with it. And again, this is a Monday, right? So price action isn't going to be statistically as good. This is why I'm not going to take this on my PA or Express accounts. I'm just taking this on an eval group, okay? So right here, this is going to be a pretty good sign of what's going to happen here. This 1 minute. Are we going to inverse this 1 minute gap? Or are we going to respect it? If we respect it and see another push to the upside, then I'm probably going to take a long. If we see an inversion and start to see a more significant push back to the downside, then for me, I'm probably going to want to take a short, okay? So we'll see what happens here. See how this closes. And again, the whole point of this video is not me trading like a super high probability day. If you guys don't know, I live trade every single day in the Discord, Tuesday through Friday. Every single morning I'm on. We absolutely ate last week. I actually wasn't live last week because of Hawaii, but we've been crushing it this Q4. We've been doing crazy, crazy numbers. This month alone, I have over a 90% win rate at the moment, so it's looking very good. But yeah, as you can see, technically we're still respecting this 1 minute. It's not looking good though. It's looking like this could turn into our manipulation. So again, this is a very big reason of why you don't just want to hop into a setup super quickly, right? This is where patience comes in waiting for entry confirmations. So we'll just be patient. Now again, you're probably thinking like, oh, okay, Jack, let's take a look. This was probably the manipulation, right? Even though it looks like we have an A+ buy setup, we're overextended. This looks like the manipulation. You might have wanted to short that inversion already, right? But I'm not ready to do that. And the reason is we don't have a confirmation of order flow. We don't have a new bearish gap formed anywhere, okay? Once we get a bearish fair value gap formed, let's say it's right here, we form a bearish gap, we tap into that gap, and then break out of it again, that's when we can take a short, because we know if new bearish PD arrays are being respected and bullish PD arrays are being disrespected, the sellers are in control and the buyers have lost control. The momentum will then be with the sellers. But for now, we don't know that, right? All we're doing right now is pretty much, okay, we're respecting this 15-minute bullish gap. So again, this is, I'm trying to make this more educational. And the reason I wanted to pick a Monday to do this is to kind of show you guys how to navigate tricky PA, right? This is not simple price action, okay? We have a manipulation to the downside and the upside. So we have to just wait, right? If you had taken this inversion, you may have already gotten fried, right? If you had taken this CISD, depending on your stop placement, you may have already gotten fried, okay? So now to me, this is looking a lot better. I want to see another break to the upside here. And I want to see like a full change in state of delivery off of this last move to the downside. All right, so we're going to try
order filled
along right there. Now, the thing with this setup, guys, the only thing I see holding us right now is this being a rejection block. Okay, a rejection block is basically the wicks of an order block. Okay, that can give us a significant reaction, but again, this PO3 narrative is telling me we have a pretty good setup here. So I'm going to keep my stops at this most recent internal low, and we actually need to take quite a few more
order
contracts
filled
here. And again, I usually don't add as we see that happen.
Order filled.
But we need to get like 3K on this trade. So we'll go relatively heavy into the sizing on this one.
Order filled. Order rejected.
Okay, there we go. That's our max cons. Obviously, would be amazing to see this gap get respected. That would be just another extra entry confirmation for us. But now we're kind of seeing this slow expansion trying to start the distribution leg, okay? Accumulation, manipulation into a 15-minute gap. We had patience with this sweep. We saw kind of a retest here, and then boom, another CISD. Okay, now with PO3, it's important to be patient, but it's also important to execute, okay? So for me, we have more than enough here for me to want to go long. Again, I don't think it's the highest probability setup because Monday and we're overextended. That's why I'm prepared for a loss within this trade at any given moment. Now, typically with majority of PO3 trades, I will like my stop loss at the low of the 4 hour. But for this setup, I can shove it to this low right here because we put in a little internal low. And to me, if we break to the downside off of this rejection block, then I think we're going to fully break down. And that's where we can see, okay, we actually will be bearish and we can find a short setup off of this. So let's see here. Like I said, I would have much rather had us not been already up 400 and whatever points, but that's kind of just how it's going. So if we see an inversion off of this gap, obviously we have to get stopped out of a position. If I were to see an inversion right here, that does not mean I'm going to get out of my position, right? That's just gonna, in the long term, screw you if you start exiting early. So let's say right here, right? Right here, you took a long off that great looking CISD, right? Looked perfect. And then you got a 1 minute inversion. So you got out on the 1 minute inversion and then boom, price ticks back to the upside again, right? You enter long again. Oh no, we had an inversion again. Boom, I'm out, right? You just took 2 losses instead of potentially just taking one large win, right? So that's why you don't want to exit early. But again, this is navigating pretty sketchy price action. Now, if you wanted to wait for absolutely that extra entry confirmation, you could have waited for the bullish gap to get tapped into and respected, as we're seeing right now. Right. So let's see how this one plays out. On this one, again, I want this to run to as much. This is just max daily profit for me. This is what I need to take this eval group up to pretty much passing. Well, I need one other day because you can't go 3,000, 3,000 or else they make you target more. So let's see in relation where this Fibonacci is. So that's at 25,944. And our target is just above that. So that's perfectly fine with me. All right, I just hopped back on the computer. Looks like we're about to hit our final target here at that 2R, at that Fibonacci extension. Yeah, as of right now, as we can see, we rebalanced and now we push to the upside. So obviously, if I'm not on evals, I'm definitely taking a partial at the break of that high, but this is a great point. Stops the break even. But yeah, this position literally took an hour. I'm not going to post an hour-long YouTube video. So yeah, went and grabbed some food, and now we'll just wait for this to trigger that order. And yeah, hopefully you guys got some good value out of this video. Again, this is a Monday. Usually delivery is a lot cleaner in 10 a.m. PO3 setups, but this is what you want to see in like an A+ setup, right? Just not on a Monday, basically. All right, so that hit. If you guys have questions in the comments, let me know. Again, if you do want to watch me live execute all of these trades, just click the first link down below. You can get 7-day free access to do that and actually learn the strategy as well. So see you guys later.